Welcome to the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen, covering the week that was in professional wrestling. And hello everybody, welcome to another edition of the Juice Box. I am Juice Springsteen. We've got a lot to discuss on this special, weekend edition, weekend update edition, if you will, of the Juice Box. Of course, I am Juice Springsteen. As I said, let's get the, nitty gritty out of the way. Follow me on Twitter at Juicy Steen, on Instagram at Juicy Wrestling Closet. Subscribe to this show on YouTube at Juicy Steen, and you can subscribe to this show on Apple Podcasts if you have the time. Go to iTunes, leave a review, leave a rating. It really helps the show grow. You can also listen to the show on Amazon Music, juicysteen.podbean.com, and on Spotify. And on Spotify, you as well can leave a rating and review. It will help the show grow. If you've seen recently in the Juice Box feed, I have been, painstakingly going and retrieving audio, but we are now caught up. Any and all episodes of the new Thursday program I've been doing with Andrew Baydala, Drew and Juice, which we do over on Final Bell Media's YouTube page. You can find the audio versions of every episode, including episode 5, which was actually a Twitter Spaces version of the show, which we had, people live coming in, asking questions, conversating with us live, which I, thought was really cool. I have that audio, all 7 episodes up to this point of Drew and Juice in the Juice Box RSS feed, so check it out if you want to check out the audio version of what we do on Thursday nights, because Thursday nights always a fun time. This past week, man, we were doing the show and breaking news left and right, so a lot cooking there. Speaking of the Juice Box in general, we will be having another episode of Main Event Maniacs. The guys are back, and we will be getting into some TNA with Main Event Maniacs, Brian and Jay. Looking forward to that in a couple of weeks, I'm sure. We, of course, we've got a lot to discuss this week. We're going to probably bounce around a lot to tackle. We're going to go over Grand Slam. We're going to go over Vengeance Day. We're going to talk about some of the follow-up from that from Dynamite and on NXT. We're, of course, going to talk about what happened on SmackDown this past Friday, with The Rock returning, the chaos of that, and pretty much everything else in between. So hopefully we'll nail a lot of topics in roughly 40 minutes or so. So we will do the best we can here on the Juice Box. Additionally, shout out to Jared, the Tribal Chief, who won the Pool Party Gaming Juice Box Royal Rumble pool. And he received the shirt he successfully won in the pool. So shout out to him. He, looks to be on the Juice Box next week. We have the Elimination Chamber prediction show. Ideally, it will be myself, Mr. Josh Eisenberg, and Mr. Tribal Chief. So we'll have to see when our schedules line up for that episode. That'll be really cool. And in addition, check out my Twitter feed next week. The Pool Party Gaming folks are back at it again for an Elimination Chamber pool. We'll see how many folks we can grab for this. Again, I'm not sure what the prizes are. Probably something similar to the first go-round from Royal Rumble, but we shall see. This is a nice little bridge show, and then we get WrestleMania, which I'm sure we'll be plugging quickly. So shout out to Pool Party Gaming. Check those guys out as well. They're doing a March Madness poll coming up in the next month for college basketball. Always a fun time. Normally gambling on certain things, especially with wrestling, but for wrestling, it's free. So shout out to Pool Party Gaming. I did mention WrestleMania. We got a lot to talk about here. We got, where Mania 42 is going to take place. I want to talk a lot of different topics today. We will probably start with AEW, go through what happened, Grand Slam, Dynamite, what have you. Then we'll move into WWE and conclude with the chaos of what happened on SmackDown this past Friday and try to decipher what could possibly happen at Elimination Chamber. A lot of ideas thrown around, a lot of things up in the air, but damn, Elimination Chamber absolutely looks must-see, even with 4 matches on the card, but we'll preview that as well. So let's tackle AEW Grand Slam Australia. Now, I did not look at spoilers for this show. Very proud of myself for doing that. It's very tough in this day and age to not see spoilers on shows. However, I heroically avoided them all, and we got a solid card, starting around 10:45 Eastern time here in the States. 5 matches, hot crowd, tiny ring. I'm just kidding. I mean, it was a smaller ring than normal, but somehow that took over the discourse of the entire show on Saturday, so that's the last time we'll be discussing it here on the Juice Box. It's a joke. So, it was a joke. But no, let's talk about the matches. Ospreay, Omega, defeating Takeshita and Fletcher. What more can I say? These 4 tore the house down, flying all over the place. Now it seems like we're into a convoluted way of getting Omega and Takeshita at Revolution, and we'll talk about that card as well, considering that is going to be an insane card. As Revolution has been, and we'll talk about a tweet I posted that kind of got some unique traction. But Omega and Takeshita look for a collision course at that pay-per-view for the International Championship. And we'll talk about this match as well. Okada defeating Buddy Matthews, retaining his Continental Championship. It were to seem that Okada will continue through, defending his Continental Championship, what have you. Omega would likely end up as international champion, maybe at Double or Nothing, maybe at All In. You get the unification match of the international and continental championships, Okada versus Omega. Man, really hopeful that comes to fruition as long as both guys stay healthy, things line up as they should. We shall get a wonderful match between those two who have had wonderful matches in the past. Harley Cameron had a wonderful outing against Mercedes Moné. Came up short, but the gimmick works. The puppet works. Everything works with Harley Cameron. She's going to be a bigger star because of this match and this program, no matter the outcome. So hopefully she'll get a rematch maybe at Revolution. But no, that's not going to be the case. Mercedes Moné is going to take on Momo Watanabe, a Japanese pro wrestler from Stardom. So that should be a hell of a match. Hopefully the Stephanie Vaquer effect doesn't happen to Momo if AEW wants to keep Momo around, because Vaquer had one fantastic match with Monet. Now she's in NXT. So just like that. But, and not even just like that. Now she's the North American Women's Champion. So shout out to Stephanie Vaquer. We'll be talking about her in a moment. But Grand Slam, back to that show. Cope and Jay White lose to the Death Riders in the Brisbane Brawl, and that is now going to seem to push forth this story of the Death Riders still, reigning, not just wreaking havoc over AEW, but over the AEW merch stand with their plain white t-shirt with the little Death Rider logo in the bottom right or left, depending how you look at it. Corner of the shirt, that's one hell of a way to sell a piece of merch for $30. I have plenty of those white shirts. I'm sure I could write Death Riders in Sharpie on the bottom, but I think it is funny, especially as a heel team, to go with that, so more power to them. But, I'm kind of getting tired of the Death Riders stuff, the shtick. In Dynamite, we had MJF and Hangman, who had a great promo segment, back and forth, 2 OG AEW guys. The only time they've ever wrestled, to my knowledge, in AEW was for the original match for the Dynamite Diamond Ring back in 2019. So it's been quite a long time since they've had a one-on-one match. They, too, will have a match at Revolution. But those two, I would have taken Hangman as the guy to potentially take Moxley out. But I think it could have been, maybe it was supposed to be Darby, but this Mount Everest thing got in the way. Just, popped up out of the ground. So who knows? But Cope and Jay White lose. Cope states that he is going to take out, one member of the Death Riders at a time. Revolution is Cope versus Mox, world title on the line. I had a feeling Cope, we're not doing predictions yet, but I have a feeling Cope is going to take this match, and Christian's going to take the title from Cope with the contract. So that would set up something sweet for those two fellas late in their careers, getting one huge world title feud to conclude their story, as it were, from Edge and Christian to Cope and Christian, Cope and Cage. Love those guys. I wanted them to do a ladder match, back when the TNT title was involved. But, if you're going to have the world title involved, let's do a ladder match. Why not? And then, of course, Timeless Toni Storm is victorious, wins back the AEW Women's World Championship. Not sure what's next for her. But again, could it be a Monet thing down the line where the title is on the line for Toni Storm, but maybe not Monet? I don't know. Mariah May is still in the picture, seemingly, but give me more Chris Statlander, give me Willow. Where is Britt Baker? There's plenty of women's talent. I bring this up quite frequently on the show. In AEW, quite frankly, everywhere in pro wrestling these days, the women's rosters are stacked, yet not enough time is given, adequate time, at least to me. So it is what it is. But I just hope at some point, we can really let the women thrive more than a match per Dynamite or more than a match of the women, on pay-per-views. In time, I'm sure. I'm still hopeful for an Evolution 2, though, on the WWE side, especially with all the wealth of talent they have there. But Grand Slam Australia, I felt was a really strong show. The crowd was nuts. They were having a great time. Perfect building size, as I felt. Go to a smaller venue, take care of that problem, accentuate the positives, hide the negatives. Paul Heyman said that about ECW, and I think Tony Khan should share that same sentiment. If you can't sell out the biggest buildings, pack the hell out of a smaller building. Make it look better on TV. Make it look better and impossible for those to be at the show and troll the spots that are, not as filled. If you got it filled pretty much all the way due to a smaller building, who cares? What pride are we holding on to? The Impact Zone held so many people at a time, and it looked great every single time. NXT runs the same venue all the time for their TV. For the most part, they're going to run the Cincinnati building here on Tuesday, but a lot of issues can come up trying to overload a building when you quite frankly can't do it. And I'd rather have them shoot lower and succeed instead of go higher, retract that stadium show back down to this 13,500. Confusion about if it's a pay-per-view, seems snake bit. Gonna air after the All-Star break stuff for NBA. Fine tune when and where and how. The five W's in H for AEW. But a lot of good stuff came out of that. Like I said, the best part I felt of Dynamite following was the Hangman MJF promo. They're gonna have a match at Revolution. Not sure what it's really gonna be for. But yeah, additionally, the Continental International title should be unified. So AEW's doing a lot. They're doing a lot of good stuff. They're coming up on Revolution, and I'm going to talk about the card in particular to this show, and then I'm going to bring up a take that a lot of people, not even took. They didn't necessarily take offense to what I said. I just felt that, why can't Revolution be compared to something with a stronger lineage? and we'll talk about that. But as of right now, the Revolution card, and let me tell you what this is. We've got Big Boom AJ with Big Justice in the pre-show. Who knows who he's going to face? Hopefully the Rizzler does not get injured if he's the special guest timekeeper. Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher, steel cage match. Will it be a Spanish fly off the top? Will Ospreay do a crazy corkscrew something off the top? Will Fletcher fly off the top? Will they fly off the top to the floor? It is a steel cage match. It is two high-flying individuals. It's arguably the best wrestler in the world. Something's gotta give. And I cannot wait to see what happens at Revolution. And those two go at it. Takeshita, likely against Kenny Omega, international title on the line. Like I said, Omega hopefully will win that. Take on Okada down the line. Unify the Continental and the International Championship so we can take a belt away and highlight the one that's remaining. MJF, Hangman Adam Page, one-on-one. No stakes technically, but you never know. Maybe it could be a de facto number one contender match. We'll have to see where that all leads. Mercedes Moné versus Momo Watanabe. AEW TBS title. This is another a highlight match, showcase match for Moné and Momo Watanabe. And again, who knows? Maybe after this match, we get that, it's Stat, it's Megan Bayne, it's hell, Thunder Rosa. Someone could pop in and get that next opportunity to take out Mercedes Moné. But Moné's been on such a run. And I talked about this with Drew on our show. How long can she hold on to this title? Are they going to really try to surpass 500 plus days that Jade Cargill did to wipe that clean? Because she's only at 270 some days at this point. It would take probably, almost the same amount again, probably 230 more days just to get to where Jade was. And that is a lot of pay-per-views. That's a lot of matches to win without that happening. So who knows? And then Mox Cope, world title on the line. I think Christian is going to get involved. I feel like it's going to be after. Cope will get that big moment. He'll be AEW World Champion, legend, taking out the Death Riders one by one. And lo and behold, Christian rips it all away and becomes the AEW Champion. And again, hopefully leading to a cage match. A ladder match between the two. Ladder match rules for the title, which would be wonderful with Cope and Cage in their history with the ladder. So, a lot going into what happened this past week in AEW land. Let's talk about my tweet that got a little bit of critiques. I said that Revolution is AEW's WrestleMania, in my opinion. If not, what pay-per-view equivalent would you associate with Revolution? Now, I do think I should have stated that a little clearer in regards to not that Revolution is WrestleMania in the sense of, big stadiums, pyro, 70,000. That's all in. That has been all in and what have you. I feel, though, that Revolution every single year since its first incarnation in 2020 on Leap Day, which is the only other Leap Day pay-per-view outside of Super Brawl 2. Shout out to that fun little fact I love dropping on people. But the face of the Revolution ladder match, the Bucks versus Hangman and Kenny, Sting's retirement match, 60-minute Iron Man match, Bryan Danielson and MJF. Revolution's been one hell of a show every single year. And it comes off as it's their biggest show, their most successful. The one, fans rave about a lot of AEW pay-per-views, as well as they should. I've purchased probably 80 to 85% of the shows and have all been great. I have never gotten an AEW pay-per-view and as soon as it's over, been like, wow, what a waste of my time. What a waste of my hard-earned money. It has not been nothing but, damn, I can't believe that was $50. I could have paid 100 for that. Some of the stuff you get, and that's the problem, is that it doesn't necessarily translate the same to TV. TV, Dynamite, Collision, they can have lulls, they can be, this, there, and what have you, but every damn time they're on pay-per-view, they kill it. And Revolution, to me, has been the stalwart, the steady, the reliable pay-per-view for them since its inception, like I said, in 2020. And I just feel like it's definitely something that, why not? Why couldn't it be why couldn't it be as big as what they wanted? And All In, like I said, is the WrestleMania. Money in the Bank could be considered, with Revolution there, considering the ladder match portion of it. Someone also said maybe Super Brawl. That could be something. A lot of different comparisons. But, yeah, I really just... I don't know. I really enjoy, for banter's sake, the comparison. I felt that it was pretty harmless. Of course, you start comparing WWE and AEW, and people come out of the hedges with, pitchforks. So, you gotta be careful at times. But, yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting. So that was my little interaction with some fans over there on the tweet machine. Another big AEW piece of business that happened over the weekend, or over the past week, was this report that Shane McMahon, Tony Khan, that famous, quote, leaked photo that came out. Are they working together? What's happening? Are they not working together anymore? Were they ever going to work together? And over on Coach and Bro with Jonathan Coachman and JD instead of Vince Russo this time, one bro for another. JD and Coach had their show. Coach brought up something, that was kind of interesting, that they, Shane and TK had some interactions. But once Shane potentially asked for some equity or some control in certain ways, Tony Khan, quote, ghosted him. And that blew up. It took over everything this past week. I believe that was on Thursday. Man, everything happened on Thursday, didn't it? However, I don't think ghosting is the correct term. Ghosting is never fun. It's never fun to be ghosted. It can happen to anybody. And that's more or less, no more communication. That's it. Blocked number, muted, blocked account, deleted number, whatever. I don't think Tony Khan did that. I think it's more, I think that's more of a sensationalized take. And, if that's what he heard, that's what he's going to report. So that's all, that's what Coach was going to say. But to me, Tony Khan probably felt, a little threatened. He stated he doesn't want this company, AEW, to go public. He wants to keep it in his family, give it to his kids, and that's more than fine. And if someone, no matter who it is, regardless if it's Shane McMahon, because I don't think Tony Khan has a problem working with Shane. It's not Vince. It's a totally different person. Shane and Vince don't see eye to eye. They might never have seen eye to eye, and I think Tony Khan realizes that and is willing to work with probably anybody outside of Vince. If he sees, though, that Shane is like, can I have some stake or some creative control? As soon as that kind of gets bent more, if Tony Khan gives Shane McMahon an inch and Shane wants to take 3 miles, Tony Khan's more than, I believe that he has more than his right to step in and say, not so fast, my friend. So I just don't think he ghosted him. I think he probably was like, look, Shane, I'm glad we had some discussions, but I don't think I can do that at this time. He probably wants more than 51-49 in regards to power. I'm sure he wants more 60, 70, 80, 20, something in that realm. And I don't know if Shane would want that, but I also can't blame Shane for asking if that was the case. If that's all true, I can't really deny that. So, because, why not? The worst that can happen is Tony say no, or Tony goes to you and never get to talk to him again. But I also don't think that actually happened. So, yeah, very interesting story this past week. Additionally, interesting announcement here from AEW. Double or Nothing going to Arizona. This is a show that's been in Vegas every single year since its inception back in 2019. It has the poker chips. It's got all, it's got everything. And it's going to be in Glendale, Arizona, May 25th. Cannot wait for that show. Always fun to see Double or Nothing. Little Southwestern motif for that show. Love the colors instituted for the promo poster. And I do want to mention this. It's at the Desert Diamond Arena. For basketball, it holds 18,300. Hockey holds 17,125. And for concerts in general, about 19,000. Raw came to Arizona and emanated from that venue in November last year, 2024, and had a little under 14,000 tickets distributed. That is from WrestleTix, the great ticket account on Twitter. And so to me, Double or Nothing, a show that, here we go, comparisons again, is like the Royal Rumble in that the event sells itself. The Rumble match sells the Rumble pay-per-view, PLE, but Double or Nothing, it's the legacy show, it's the big show, it's the first one. It's really important to AEW fans, and I think they'll always go to that show no matter what is going to be on the card. So I think I could get 10 to 12,000 fans in there, pack that thing out. Like, why not? So I'm here for that. Yeah, so that's pretty much all the AEW news we've got coming out of this past week, but quite a bit, I gotta say. Let's cut into WWE and NXT and SmackDown and Mania and everything. So, Vengeance Day this past weekend, we had Stephanie Vaquer winning the Women's North American Championship. Congratulations to her. Again, goes to AEW, has a banger with Mercedes Moné, and then goes to NXT, kills it. Now she's North American Champion. The future is bright for women's wrestling in NXT. Fraxium defeated Briggs and Inamura to retain the tag titles. Eddie Thorpe got a big victory over Trick Williams in a strap match, but doesn't look like that's all done. Ethan Page defeated Javon Evans by pinfall, and we'll get to those guys in a moment. Obafemi defeated Austin Theory and Grayson Waller to retain the NXT title, and then Julia defeated Cora Jade, Bayley, and Roxanne Perez to retain the women's title in a fatal four-way match. And Jordan Grace came out at the end of that. Julia Vaquer, Jordan Grace standing tall in the end of NXT Vengeance Day, all, as this is the future of NXT, and it is bright. Last week, we discussed Ricky Starks and him making his debut through the NXT crowd last week, kind of out of nowhere. And it was quite the, turnaround from his name and face being, removed from the AEW roster page, and then boop, he's on NXT. Fast forward to the contract signing, and I felt that this was done wonderfully. The show, gets to this point. We're going to have Ricky Starks sign the contract. All anybody wants to know across social media is, what the hell is his name going to be? Is it going to be Ricky Starks? Is it going to be something else? Are they even going to tell us? And they really didn't even tell us. It was a visual clue. This is how it went down. Starks comes out, he's going to sign the contract, and all of a sudden, here comes Ethan Page, a guy who kept his name, coming from the same place, and they had a little interaction, a cool little moment there. And then all of a sudden, Javon Evans comes out. They have a little brawl. They get taken away. Here we go. I'm going to sign the contract. Here comes Ricky Starks signing the contract. Nope. Wesley comes out. He interrupts him. We still don't know the name. Wesley gets deposited by Ricky Starks. And, next week, next Tuesday, we're going to get, well, I'll talk about it here in a moment, but we'll get, one of the matches is Ethan Page and Wesley versus Javon Evans. And so the contract says Ricky, but the contract says Saints. Ricky Saints is his name. that's what they did. They kind of panned down to look at the contract to see that his name had changed to Ricky Saints. He's from New Orleans. It makes a lot of sense. It was a fine name change. People complained about Walter and Gunther and Kevin Steen, Kevin Owens, and, there's so many more that I could talk about that people have been bitching about forever, and it doesn't matter. Oh, Shinsuke kept his name. Samoa Joe kept his name. Bobby Roode kept his name. Johnny Gargano kept his name. Okay, maybe there's a problem with his name. Maybe Ricky wanted to change it and not be associated with what he did in AEW. Maybe he wanted to embrace the New Orleans heritage and be the Saint. Marching into NXT. Taking it over. Maybe there was an issue with Ricky Starks and Zoe Stark. Any number of things could have happened. But it's Ricky Saints, and they're moving forward. That's it. So I do want to mention, though, then we go to another part of NXT. My God. We also had none other than Moose coming out, interrupting Obafemi, and spoiler alert from TNA, at Roadblock it will be Obafemi versus Moose for the TNA or for the NXT title, which should be wonderful. But next Tuesday on NXT from Cincinnati, Ohio, the same venue AEW ran not too long ago. Very unique venue. Really thrilled about it taking place there. We've got the Hardys 1-on-1 or 2-on-2 in action, which will be interesting. They're going to go against the No Quarter Catch Club. Stephanie Vaquer takes on Carmen Petrovic for the North American title. Moose defends the X Division title against Lexis King, who, dad is Brian Pillman, Cincinnati's own. That's going to be, kind of a hometown thing for Lexis, but I don't think the fans will receive him as well as he would like. And Ricky Saints, like I said, with Javon Evans versus Wesley and Ethan Page. So that's a hell of a stacked card for NXT this week. I cannot wait to see how that comes to fruition Tuesday night. So, NXT is doing wonderful things. I don't think you can call them developmental anymore, by the way. You're not selling out different buildings. You're not traveling. You're not touring. You're not on the CW if you're a developmental brand. And I also don't think it's bad for AEW to be compared to NXT. They're the closest the closest thing I can compare them to outside of maybe a non-Big Five PLE for WWE is what AEW is at when the Revolution cards go. But when it's SummerSlam and Mania and Rumble, it's tough to compare the two, and that's fine. I don't, again, it's all the tribalism, I don't. There's no problem in that in a comparison for the banter, what have you. So, but let's get into some more WWE. This is where we'll close the show. I want to announce, they announced, so I'm going to announce that they announced that WrestleMania 42 2026 will be in New Orleans. Third time in 13 years that it will take place in New Orleans. We just brought up Ricky Saints. The Rock shows up on SmackDown. The news broke on Thursday during Drew and Juice that he was going to show up. He shows up, popped a huge rating on SmackDown, by the way, if anybody cares. Announces that WrestleMania 42 is going to be in New Orleans. It was there at 30, where you had Daniel Bryan winning the world title in front of all those fans against Batista and Randy Orton after defeating Triple H in the opening match. Just a wonderful night. The streak ended. Cesaro won the inaugural Andre the Giant Battle Royal by deadlifting Big Show out of the ring. A lot of great moments happened at WrestleMania 30. Cena and Bray Wyatt, of course. WrestleMania 34, I got to go to. Not as exciting from a card perspective, although we got to see Shinsuke and AJ Styles. Didn't turn out very good. Charlotte ended Asuka's streak, so both WrestleMania quote main events that had the Royal Rumble winners in it did not turn out well for those Royal Rumble winners. But I also was thrilled to be a part of none other than Beach Ball Mania. And look, man, Bourbon Street, New Orleans is just a wonderful place to party, to have any event. That's why the Super Bowl's there all the time. Like I said, third WrestleMania in 14 years. It's going to be a party atmosphere. You go down Bourbon Street anyway, and there's beads, there's music, there's fun, and bars. And when wrestling and WrestleMania, interact with the city, every bar's got wrestling themes, and there's always wrestling fans. I saw Bobby Lashley on Bourbon Street. I know Elias was on Bourbon Street. There's just, wrestlers and people in the wrestling community all over the place down there, and it's a wonderful place to be. So I'm looking forward to hopefully making it down to New Orleans for Mania 42. I'm not going to go to Vegas for WrestleMania. I don't believe it. It's just a lot, man. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of time to take out. A lot of things to plan, and it's just a lot. There's a lot. And, in real world news, it's just too much. And I went to WrestleMania last year. I'm cool with not going this year. I'm really cool with not going any year. Any year I can. It's a thrill, and I love it, and I cherish it. But it's not the be-all, end-all if I don't get to go. I'd like to do some other things this year in regards to travel and what have you. So it's WrestleMania is just not in the cards. So we'll see where the Juice Box travels to and what he does and what we do and what else here in 2025. But I do not believe Vegas is in the cards, if you will. But what could be in the cards? The Rock did show up, and The Rock, I'd like to say The Rock made it clear of what his intentions were for WrestleMania and Cody and Roman and whatever, but it's not really what we got. We got a insane, off-the-wall, not even back and forth. Cody said like 10 words in the whole damn promo segment. But Rock was all over the place saying how he wants Cody to be his champion. It came off very off the cuff, not, very far removed from having the crib notes. You've got crib notes on his wrist back in the Rock-Cena feud that Cena accurately and appropriately called out, which was wonderful, by the way. And we'll get into that with Cena. But the whole thing leads to this. Does The Rock work WrestleMania? If he does, is it against Cody? Is it against Roman? Does he not work it at all? Is this the last year for Rock matches, considering the rumor that Martin Scorsese's doing a pretty big film, as if he would do a small film, and The Rock is going to have a role. He's going to know his role, and he's not going to shut his mouth because he's going to be acting. But he is likely going to be away for a while doing this movie, and if the movie does what Scorsese movies do, generally, he will likely have more and more serious gigs going forward instead of this movie, that movie, another Moana movie, Fast and Furious 79, another movie with Kevin Hart. He could do some serious damage if he gets into a Scorsese film and kills it. So it's very conceivable that if that happens during this year, Rock could maybe work WrestleMania, maybe work a night of SummerSlam, and then it's really up in the air. Who knows? He brought up, The Rock did, the match with Roman and how that was gonna be what it was for the title, but Cody had to mess it up and threw a wrench into the plans, and they had to pivot and kind of acknowledge that. And he kept stating he wants Cody to be corporate champion. He said he could elevate Cody's career higher and higher. Even though they stood against each other at Mania, they had become friends. They had to tear him on a toast at the Netflix Raw premiere back in January 6th of this year. They had the interaction on screen. They had an interaction with Terramana backstage that was, filmed, of course. Rock said he praised Cody for being a great champ, a champ of the people, if you will. He wanted him to be his champion, though, and said he could do anything and make anything possible for Cody if he said yes. Now, also consider this. Cody was going to be in a 6-man tag during this show, and Rock pulled him out, which I love. We've been saying and wanting since Rock became TKO member and board and all that. If you're really truly the final boss, you should be able to say, "Hey, you're not in this match," or "I'm in this match. We're doing this match," what have you. You answer to me, and I think that's what we're potentially getting. Now, we have a date set, March 1st, next Saturday, and it's gonna be the decision. No, not LeBron taking his talents to South Beach. They're going to be taking it to Toronto. Elimination Chamber. Toronto is going to be the Rogers Center is going to be the background for this. Cody has to give The Rock an answer. And this is what I'd like to talk about. I think it could go a couple ways. And I don't think Cody is the way they'll go, because whether it's going to be Rock versus Cody at Mania or Rock Roman at Mania, but you get like Cena and Punk in a match, maybe that's been thrown around. I have a feeling that either Punk or Cena, not Cody. I think Cody will turn down The Rock in regards to being, the champion of the people. I have an inclination that he might not even get to decline it as much as Roman interrupt, setting up Roman Rock at Mania. And then you get, if it's Punk or if it's Cena, whoever wins the Elimination Chamber match, then they have, let's say it's Punk. We'll go one by one. CM Punk, who has the favor, right? He asked Paul Heyman, You gotta cash in this favor. You owe me. Heyman obliged. He's Punk's a Paul Heyman guy. What if the favor was CM Punk gets the world title match at WrestleMania, WWE world title match against Cody Rhodes, and he stabs Cody Rhodes in the front like he said he would to get the title in the main event by cashing in the favor. The favor being, "Hey Rock, can you help my friend CM Punk out? Even though you guys might not see eye to eye, he's a good friend of mine. He's a Paul Heyman guy, if you will." And CM Punk becomes corporate man Punk. A corporate champion. How ironic. Punk leaving WWE over, a lot of creative disputes with the powers that be, only to then eventually return to WWE and align with the powers that be, especially involving The Rock, who took over CM Punk's last major opportunity at a WrestleMania main event back in 2013. How ironic and poetic that would be. Or John Cena says, I'm done in 2025. It's my final year. It's my farewell tour. I'm going to enter the Royal Rumble. I haven't won a lot of matches recently. In fact, I haven't won since 2018 in a singles match. I need to win the 17th world title. I need to. It's best for business. He gets to the final 2 of the Royal Rumble. Gets eliminated by main event Jey Uso. Jey Uso gets his match. He goes against Gunther at WrestleMania. Good for main event Jey. Cena at the press conference says, "You know what? I'm calling my shot. I know this is kind of unorthodox, but I am entering the Elimination Chamber match. No need to qualify. This is what I'm doing." Cena just kind of said, "I'm going in. This is it. It's my last Elimination Chamber event. Last time in an opportunity to compete for a world title in the main event of WrestleMania. Everybody else gets to qualify, but Cena has earned it, and I get that. But what if Cena got in because who would have signed off on Cena being allowed in this match? Oh, let me see. The guy who split WrestleMania 28 and 29 against Cena, The Rock. Cena, let's say he even wins. He wins the Elimination Chamber. Even if he doesn't, one way or the other, in this scenario, John Cena is so desperate to not only win a match, but to win the match. To win his 17th record-breaking World Heavyweight Championship, WWE Championship, by doing what no one ever thought he would do. Turn his back on Cody, on the fans, truly becoming the dirtiest player in the game with a corporate John Cena heel turn for the ages, aligning under The Rock, winning the world title, Hollywood John, doing movies as champion but cutting promos, and then he takes it to SummerSlam, takes it however far he needs to go. But there's also an outside shot, that maybe a Drew McIntyre could be the guy that The Rock has, an ace up his sleeve if Cody declines as People's Champion, or as The Rock's champion, if you will. But damn it, it leaves a lot to be answered. And Elimination Chamber is next week. We'll talk about that in great detail with myself, hopefully Josh Eisenberg, and hopefully the Tribal Chief, winner of the Pool Party Juice Box Royal Rumble pool from this past January. But we have quickly a preview of the card. Like I said, Cody makes the decision with The Rock. And then Tiffany Stratton, Trish Stratus versus Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. That'll be fun in Toronto. Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair, Alexa Bliss, Bayley, Naomi, and Roxanne Perez. Women's World Title Elimination Chamber match. Winner takes on Rhea Bloody Ripley. Cena, Punk, Drew McIntyre, Logan Paul, Damian Priest, and Seth freaking Rollins. Elimination Chamber match for the undisputed WWE title match at WrestleMania against Cody Rhodes, which is interesting. Both chamber matches have 5 former world champions and someone that's never won the world title. In the men, Logan Paul has never won a world title, and every other guy has. And for the women, Roxanne Perez is the new face in the match. Never won a world title, at least not yet, unless you count NXT. And everybody else has. Quite the dynamic. And then the match I'm most looking forward to, unsanctioned Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. They're destined to do this forever. This time in Toronto, no rules, no regulations. It's uncensored, Tony. Unsanctioned match. And I think they're going to tear the house down. And I think it means more to them to have a Toronto home country match one-on-one where anything can happen instead of another WrestleMania singles match or a WrestleMania tag match that they main evented together and won the tag titles a couple years ago. So I think this match, brings a lot more than what a potential WrestleMania match could be. And, I think Kevin Owens and Randy Orton have a collision course for Mania anyway. So we'll talk all about Elimination Chamber and the predictions and what have you next week with who knows who. But, man, one hell of a week that was in the pro wrestling space. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how it all shapes out next week. We've got Elimination Chamber next week. We've got AEW Revolution the following week. And then the week after that, I will be attending the Bruno Forever independent pro wrestling show here in the Pittsburgh area to support the Greater Pittsburgh Food Bank and to celebrate Bruno Sammartino, the life and career and legend and legacy of Bruno, as he is a Pittsburgh legend, 7 years as WWF champion, longest reigning WWE champion of all time. Stan Hansen will be there. Corey Graves will be there. A lot of local wrestlers, Sam Adonis, Savage Gentleman, Beastman, Ray Lynn. Bill Apter will be there as well. A lot of interesting stuff going on there. So that's the next couple of weeks of pro wrestling. Looks to be a doozy. So as always, follow me on Twitter at JuicySteen. You can subscribe to this show on YouTube at Juicy Steen. Follow me on Instagram at Juicy Wrestling Closet. If you listen to it on Spotify or iTunes, leave a rating and review. You can drop a comment on YouTube. You can listen to the show, like I said, on Apple Podcasts or on Amazon Music or juicysteen.podbean.com. And check out Drew and Juice every Thursday night, generally on the Final Bell Media YouTube channel at Final Bell Media or on Andrew Baydala's Twitter account at Andrew Baydala. You can find him there. So anytime we got good pro wrestling banter to go across the board, you can find it right here under the Juice Box umbrella. Like I said, Main Event Maniacs coming back with some TNA fodder, which is right up their alley. That's how I first knew these guys, was in the TNA realm. So I'm looking forward to hearing what they've got to say moving forward. And yeah, a lot of stuff on the docket at WrestleMania season. And even though I might not be at the show this year, there's a lot of unique content to go around. So appreciate everybody that goes out and listens to this show and interacts with me, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, or anywhere else. Appreciate the love and support. And yeah, so enjoy your weekend. Hopefully you enjoyed this little weekend update edition of the Juice Box. I am Juice Springsteen, and hopefully you guys tune in next week for the Elimination Chamber Prediction Show right here on the Juice Box. That was the Juice Box with Juice Springsteen. Make sure to subscribe to the Juice Box wherever you listen to podcasts.